All right, Stephen Key, InventRightTV, and I know you've got an idea, and I know you want to launch it. You want to learn how to do it. Watch this video, and you're going to learn from Larry. Okay, everybody, Stephen Key here today, and I have a very special guest that's got a great product. I saw it. I absolutely love it. Larry, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Stephen. It's good to see you. It's been we've been trying to put this meeting together for a hot minute, and so I'm glad we got it done.
Well, I'm glad you're here. You know, you've got a great product. We're going to talk about it. But before we get there, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and how you became an entrepreneur?
Boy, Stephen, you've been down this road, and I don't even know where you start with that. I mean, I could sit here and we could fill up from now till lunch talking about all the things that either you and I've done or the thoughts that we've had in our head. When I was thinking about this question, and gosh, when I was young and married, I was working with the United Steelworkers, and I was in a box plant, and some things went left or right, and next thing you know, I became the United Steelworkers president. We had 110 guys, and I dealt with everything from the resolution committee, the grievance committee. We set up a new contract. I mean, I did all of that, and in the process of doing that, I started looking. I thought, man, I want to get my guys some hats and T-shirts and stuff like that. And so I started to look, and I realized the availability of that just wasn't then. It wasn't really popular, and so the light bulb went on, and I thought, you know what? I bet we can do this not only for my local union, but for other ones. And so I began to go down the road, and one thing led to another, and I bought an embroidery machine, and we started making hats. And then I wound up with 2 embroidery machines making hats, and then I wound up with 2 single heads and a 6 head making hats. And at one point, we did 65 different golf courses and did their shirts and everything. And we grew and grew and grew, and we started off just by shaking hands and getting the local tire company and the people, that were this and that. And what we would do to market, and then I'm getting to a bigger question on the entrepreneur side, is we started doing trade shows. And in that trade show, we'd set up a display of hats, and then we had some designs. And so you could come by and you could pick the red hat, and you could pick a lawnmower on there and put S&J Lawn Service on there, and we would stitch it right there for you. And that was great for an over-the-counter sale. But what we were looking for is I needed that same S&J Lawn Service to order 36, hats every 3 weeks. And so I was looking for that 144 caps, once a month or once every couple of months. And so when I started that, that's the road I went down. And then I think just as an entrepreneur, one thing led to another. That 9/11 hit, and I remember just distinctly that was so tough because we had a good customer base, but when 9/11 hit, Stephen, you remember the whole economy shut down. People didn't know what they were going to do. And I would reach out to my customers, and my receivables were going down. My payables were, still where they're at. And I would say, hey, how are you? And they'd say, Larry, we love you. We love your product, but we're a trucking company, and we're not buying hats right now. We're buying tires and gas, and you took that across the board, and that's just the way it was. And so I knew then that I had already started working. We got into the snow ski industry, and I had an idea, and we started down that road. And I knew then that I wanted to do something that was different, because I had a guy one time tell me, and I think this was so important. He said, does your machines run when you're not there? And I said, no. I said, I have to take the hat off and put the hat on. And he said, so when you're sleeping, you're not making any money. I said, no, that's right. And he said, that's what I don't like about your business. He said, you need a business that when you're sleeping, you're still making money. And one of the biggest books, and I may be jumping ahead of your questions, but when I read the book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and that's one of the things he really emphasizes. He talked about, the beauty shop operator, she's great and she can make some money, but she's only going to cut 1 head of hair every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And in order to make money, you need to own the beauty shop that has 5 beauticians, where you get a percentage of all 5 of those. And so, he talked a lot about real estate, but it really clicked. And so he was right. I was limited to, yes, I had 2 singles and I had a 6 head, and they were all running all the time. But when I shut the doors and went home, unless I had a staff overnight, that cash flow stopped.
But how did you go from in the the apparel industry to the product you have today? And let's jump over there. The product you have today, could you explain what it does? Because it seems very clever. And how did you come up with it, and what is it?
That's a little bit of a journey. We went snow skiing, and I was standing in the ski lift line, and I remember that I was playing at the ski poles, and I had remembered years back I'd seen somebody that was able to put a dollar sign, an imprint, in the snow. And so, boy, I got to thinking about that, and I thought, I bet if we did some NFL logos and some collegiate logos to where we could replace that ski pole basket, and that ski pole basket would leave that imprint in the snow, I bet we're on to something. And so I came back and I began to put two and two together. I reached out to an engineer. I began to go from the napkin, to where you pencil your idea together, to from there, they get your CAD drawings, and you bring your CAD drawings, and there's only so much you can see on that computer screen. And back then, to get a prototype, it was a 3D modeler, but it made it in wax. And boy, so you get that 3D model, but Stephen, it was precious. You had to be careful with that thing. And so I took that, and we designed a ski pole basket that had the Denver Broncos on there, and it would leave the Broncos imprint in the snow. And so I'm answering your question. And so I went down that road, and what we did, Stephen, is our patent wasn't, we filed the patent to be able to leave the imprint in the snow, but we got denied, and they used the branding iron as an example. They said, if you were to use the branding iron and go from there. What we did is we filed the patent on the adapter. So one of the things that I figured out was the people that did have the dollar sign that would imprint in the snow would only fit one ski pole. Well, what I did is I designed an adapter system. So if you had a Lakey pole or a Rosignol pole or a Goody pole, whichever one it is, you popped it in the center, and then it would adapt, slide up to the perfect height on that pole and stay. And so then what we did from there is that's where we got our patent. We developed a lighted basket, and I'm getting to where we're at now, is with the lighted basket, it was the first one that took the LED thought off the tennis shoes, put it on a ski pole basket to where now every time you hit it, it would blink and it would swirl. So it was perfect for night skiing. So, boy, we sold them and sold them and sold them. But what happened, Stephen, is we got to a point where, so we do these, you can sort of see it. It's blinking and swirling. Yeah. And so with the adapter system, what we did is we got to a point to where we'd sold enough of them, but our cost to produce them, we were selling them just above our cost to produce them. And what we were trying to do is just get them into the market and create demand. Well, in order for us to do that, to get it to where our cost was half of what it was, we had to reinvest a large portion of money. Well, at that point, we were just out of funds. And so I kind of went back to the drawing board. I knew that was a product that, I didn't know where we were going to go. And so from one thing led to another, we got from that, and then just, you see a need and it begins to develop, and we're in the golf industry now. We use the same basic thought with our golf tee. It's a little bit different. We use some of the designs that we already had to get us to where we're at today.
So let's talk about that, Larry, if we could. What is the product? Can you show us the product, and what does it do?
What I love about this is we've designed a new golf tee, and here's the packaging that comes in. So it's here's the single tee. Here's what's super cool about this tee, Stephen, is every golf tee in the industry, it's always been, it doesn't matter whether it's tall, short, fat, skinny, big cup, tall, they all are made, and they go half of them in the ground and half of them out of the ground. So it doesn't have a choice, but it's either going to break or it's going to fly out. One of the two. Okay. Now, you get guys that'll hit it and pick it up and take it on, but pretty soon it's going to go flying out. I mean, I can show you thousands of videos of them doing that. So I got to thinking, I thought, that's not right. So what we did is we designed a golf tee that you push it all the way into the ground, and it goes all the way into the ground. So you push it flush. Can you see me okay?
I can.
So you push it flush. It's got a 90-degree cutout in it. you always keep the 90-degree cutout facing downrange. So now when you hit it, it's going to pivot forward, but Stephen, it's going to tell you your swing path right at the point of impact. So it doesn't matter if it comes at you're outside to in, if you're inside to out, it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, you think about it, it can't not tell you. It's going to tell you what just happened. So if your club face is open, if it's closed, whatever it is, Stephen, it doesn't pop out of the ground. It stays right there. It pivots forward. You get the best release of the golf ball. It's going to add at least 5 to 6 yards just because the release is so clean. To date, we haven't had a broken T1. I mean, you think about it, it's going to pivot.
Let me see if I can bring this all together real quick. So you don't have to replace your tees. It's going to show you how to be a better golfer. And when you use it, you are going to be a better golfer. Are those the three things? Did I miss something here?
No, it's perfect. And one of the mistakes that we made, Stephen, out of the gate is, I think when we came up with this, we thought, you know what, we're just going to be another golf tee, and out there we go. And we are, but we really had to identify our target market. And so we probably made the mistake of trying to be another golf tee. So we backed up a little bit and said, you know what, that person's not going to replace the golf tee that they got. They get 100 of them in a bag for $9.95. Okay. Our package is $14.50. But what they can't do that this one will do is, now if you're at a driving range and you're going to hit a bucket of balls, you put this in there, and this thing, now you're going to practice intelligently. And I love the line. Your tee should be informative, not broken. And that's so true, because Stephen, to the person, when I walk up, when we were first producing this, I'd go out to the driving range and I'd walk up to you and I'd say, and I'd see you hitting, and you got your drivers, and I'd say, hey, my name's Larry Fleming. I've got a new tee. Do you mind trying it? And to a person, they'd say, absolutely. And I'd say, here's how it works. Push it all in the ground. And I'd show them the first time, and I'd stand it up, and then I'd just walk off, and I'd get plenty of way back there. I didn't pressure them. I just wanted them to get in their own head. And Stephen, they'd hit it, and then they'd stand it up, and then they'd hit it again and stand it up. Well, pretty soon I watch them, and now they can see that their swing path is maybe outside or inside out. Now they're moving their feet. In about 5 to 6 hits, all of a sudden you can see them. They're moving forward. They're moving back. It hasn't popped out of the ground. It's telling them. So you can see the ball flight. You can go get a golf coach. And I've said RT doesn't replace a golf coach. It doesn't replace a training aid. It goes along with it.
Okay. So Larry, let's talk about some of the details. So you have this great idea. How do you start? Do you do a CAD drawing? Do you build a prototype? How did you test it before you started to go down that road, that it was going to work?
I think no matter what product you have, and right now I think that we've got 2 or 3 that we've taken to market. I do think everyone out there's got an idea, Stephen, and you know that to be true. And I think it truly is. You pencil it out on a napkin, and you mull it over, and you think about it. And then the one thing that I think I've been very blessed at is I have had an idea on the steps to go. So I've been able to go and get a CAD designer and tell them my idea. And if you and I talk about a red square fire hydrant that shapes to the left, even though that was really clear, I promise you're going to have an idea of what it looks like, and I'm going to have an idea, and it's not going to be identical. So when you work with that CAD guy, you're going to tell him, and he's going to start off with the drawing, and you're going to get back with him, and you're going to tweak it and say, okay, let's change this and let's change that. And we're fortunate today to be able to have 3D printers that are pretty economical. So you can take that CAD design that he has, move it to the 3D printer, and now you have a prototype. Okay. And so having it in your hands to be able to touch and feel it is so much different than having it on a computer screen. And so from that point, if you get a 3D prototype, now you can look at it, you can test it, and to some degree, depending on what your product is, you can take it to testing. So from that point, for us, we were in the plastic industry. So it's a little easier to make a prototype mold, so you can get 200 pieces. The good part about that is it's not as expensive. The bad part about that is, Stephen, you might have to do that. You might spend the money, get it, and it's off just a little bit. So now you got to go back to your designer, because you've tested it. You've had the 3D prototype, but testing it's different. You go back, he tweaks it. Now you're out another $300 or $400 or whatever the number is.
So you do the CAD drawing, you keep on testing it, you get something you really like, it works. Do you manufacture here in the United States, or do you go someplace else? What do you do?
It used to be, especially in my industry with injection molding, that you didn't have a choice. There was really not anything that was comparable here in the States to be able to do it. I mean, there's a reason that all the Happy Meal toys are injection molded over in China, because nobody here is going to paint them little eyebrows, and all them little, and to do it the way they do it. So that particular industry, and in the golf tee and in our ski poles and some another one, we had injection molded overseas. So that lends to different challenges. You've got to you've got to learn a lot about import, export. When you send $10, $15, $20,000 and you hit click and you don't have a clue where that's at, or you've never met that guy overseas, that's a little scary, especially at first. And so, yeah, we had them manufactured overseas. Huge learning curve, learning the way they ship things. Do you get a 20-foot container? Do you get a 50-foot container? Where do you load it on the ship? I had no idea, Stephen, that where that's loaded on that cargo ship is a different insurance price, because if it's loaded on the top, it's cheaper. If it's loaded on the middle, then your insurance is good. If it's loaded in the bottom, because what happens is if those seas get to rocking, I didn't even know this, then what's on top is going to fall off the boat. So what they do, so in order to stop that boat from rocking, they flood the hull with water. Well, if your container's in the bottom, now your container's underwater. And I had no idea. It's little things like that people just don't realize. And all that affects the insurance. You shipping this container from overseas.
I've never heard that before. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. All right. So they come over, you get them. They probably look pretty good. Do you store them in your garage? Do you get a warehouse? And how do you start to sell it?
I love that, because you're right. Do you store them in your garage? Yes, you put some of them in your garage and your wife's mad at you. So you go down to the local storage facility and you get a 10 by 20. And now you're paying $75 or $100 or $150 a month, whatever that storage rate is. And so now your fixed costs, because that $150 is not going away, are beginning to continue. That's another one. And so now you've got to get out there and start knocking doors and making sales, and you've got to move your product, which at this point is your baby. You're in love with this thing, and you think everybody in the world wants one. Well, pretty soon you learn that may not be the case either. And then you, and Stephen, even before that, there's so much design work to do in the packaging. The packaging's got to be done right. The country of origin, the font can't be too small. There's rules on that. Are you EDI compliancy with big stores? Because everybody thinks they want to go to Walmart or Dick's or Academy Sporting Goods or something like that. And that's not always the best way to go. And that's a whole other story that But nonetheless, that barcode, that GSI barcode's got to be on each one of your packages. All that back packaging's got to be done correctly, and then if you do get into EDI, electronic data invoicing, where you get into a major retailer to where they have automatic reordering, that's a whole class lesson in itself, Stephen. It takes a village.
It does. So, okay. So how are you educating people today? Do you do TikTok? Do you do Amazon? Do you do your website? What's your strategy to get people to know, hey, I got the best tea out there?
That is it. That's a great question. And you ask a question of, I think, one of the hardest products, only because of this. Back in the day, you had basically 3 channels. You could go do cold calls. So you go to your local golf retailer and you just you just shake their hand. You could do print media or radio, depending on if you're a local product or a national or a regional. And then you could do trade shows, and that was basically it. So you went to a trade show to meet people, whether it was a consumer show or a buyer's show. You put out print media and or you did mailers or something like that, or direct cold calls. Well, when did it start? Then social media came on board. And so now, social media has done away with the old phone books and a lot of the mailers and stuff like that. And so how do you get people to know about your product? I think I don't think that's an easy thing. And here's what I would tell people. And I've told many people, I said, here's the thing is you can have a local product. You can be a local beauty shop. You can be a local pie bakery. You can be a local ice cream. And so your target market, your customer base is that 15 to 20 miles around you. Okay. So that local beauty shop, she's got her customers that come in. Well, then you can be regional. So you can have a store in this town and that town over there, maybe even a little bit on the other state. A regional market or a regional products is harder than that. And you market in different ways. But when you have a national product, that's a completely different ball game. And so you really do have to think about it like that. In some ways, it's harder. In some ways, it's easier. The challenge with our golf tee in answering your question has been that I could go to a Denver golf show. I can go to the Chicago golf show. I can go to the Dallas golf show. And when I stand there and you walk by my booth and I've got all my display and it's got my product in there, and they walk up and they look at you, and I say, here's how it works. And I tell everything that you and I just talked about. They're going to get their $20 out. They want to take a package. They might even get one for their dad, their brother, and they want one for themselves. Okay. So that's easy if I can stand there and explain it. If I put a display into a pro shop, that display just has my packages sitting there. And people will walk up. Yep, they'll walk up, they'll look at it, they'll put it right back on there, they'll go over, they'll buy their tea time, and out the door they go. So it has not been easy, and it's been a learning curve for us to figure out how to do that. Now, yeah, you've seen some products that have the little TV screen, so it's running the whole time. Well, that's not cheap, and when we started this, that definitely wasn't cheap and wasn't, for us, we needed 200 of those. We just didn't need 3. So, one of the things is, again, when you go to those local shows or those consumer shows, it's easy to pitch your product. When we went to the PGA show, which was in Orlando, Stephen, we had such a good response for our golf tee. But man, then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, it shut all the golf courses down. So where am I going with this is I think we are learning that QR codes that we put on the back of the package. So now you can scan it. It takes to a video that shows everything, and I can show you how it works. I think that's a hit for us, for my product. I think TikTok has grown and grown and grown to where the TikTok shop lets me sit there and explain it. And when I can do that and you can watch it, it's a no-brainer because it clicks and you understand it. But it hasn't been easy to get to that point.
Larry, let's move ahead. Let's talk about this one thing that's really important. Everybody's curious. Protection. Tell us about, do you have a patent, design patent? Tell us about that process. What do you have? What have you done?
Yes. Do I like patents? I have 4 patents right now. We're fixing to file another one. QuickPatents has been fantastic. I've went through the patent process. One of the patents we spent $40,000 on, and it's expensive, and where I don't think you need to do that. I think somebody that's interested in that today, there's a lot to do about that. A design patent is different than a utility patent, as you know. And so, yes, the patent is obviously the way to go. Do you need an international patent? I never thought we did because I just didn't have that deep of pockets.
So let's talk about QuickPatents. How'd you find them? And we all know that's Kevin Prince. He does a great job, everybody. How'd you find Kevin to help you?
I've used Kevin on at least the last 3 patents that we used. And how did I find him? I don't know if I just stumbled onto something, but I reached out to him. There's several things that I love about Kevin is one, you can schedule an interview with him. And so, he's really good about giving you 30 minutes of his time because Stephen, as you know, and you've probably ran across, I think everybody has an idea but they just don't know how to go about it.
Yeah.
I think Kevin's really good about giving you solid advice, and he'll be one that says, "No, Larry, I don't think this is going to work." You know, you may love it, but I'm not sure that it's something that everybody's going to buy, or maybe it's
Okay.
not patentable, or maybe here's what we need to think about. And what's good about that is, I think, as you know, as an entrepreneur, one of the most valuable things that you can have is somebody that will tell you the truth, because you can surround yourself with people that tell you your product's the best. Well, and is it or is it not? If they don't like it, they need to say they don't like it. And Kevin's really good about saying, "Hey, I think we need to go back to the drawing board on this." And so, I love a patent. How did I find Kevin? Kevin has been good all the way down the line. I think one of the things an entrepreneur or a patent applicant needs to know, and I learned this the hard way, that the patent office is usually going to deny your patent at least twice. They for sure will the first time. Yeah, I mean, it's just
Yes.
a given. I don't know.
I know.
It just
I know.
is.
I know. I know.
And normally twice. So you better be in this for the long haul. You need to know that you've got to be patent pending before you go to market, or you can mess up there. And you need to have an idea that you think's really going to work to roll that money into. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of patents that just have went and didn't bear the fruit that the originator thought that they would. And I think Kevin's really good at
Yeah.
that. Kevin's process is really good. That's the reason I like him. I went back to him. I've recommended
Yeah.
him to multiple people. And so, it's I like the patent process. I think there's when you get that first certificate from the patent office, I mean, you almost want to sleep with that thing. It's so cool. you know.
Well, it does mean something, and I think it's important. I like someone that's going to tell me the truth. I really like that. And I do believe the office actions, I'm not wild about them, but that's just fact of life. So you have to budget. And Kevin does a good job, and he's a little bit more affordable than some other people you could possibly pick. That's why I love Kevin so much, because he actually cares. And you know what's really amazing? He's an inventor too. So he kind of looks at it a little bit differently than some people you might be working with. So that's why I had to mention that. If you had to do this all over again, this is my last question. All over again, what would be the advice you would tell someone that just has an idea that's just getting started?
Take that money and buy Bitcoin. No.
That's so
Uh,
that's so funny.
file your provisional patent. You can
Yeah,
do that yourself. You go get a form, you put it in the letter at the post office, done.
yeah,
There's attorneys out there that'll charge you $700-800 to do it, and that's just
yeah.
Um, I think if you and I do think everybody has an idea, and you just have to go to I think now that there are entrepreneur groups,
Yeah.
incubator companies in towns that are really good about getting someone in there, and they have someone that's good at bank financing, and someone that's good at patents, and someone that's good at marketing, and boy, if you can glean that off of them,
Okay.
then that's huge. I don't think that I had that opportunity.
All right.
I think to be a successful business owner, you need to have some marketing classes, and you need to have some accounting classes. You need to know where your money's at
What
and how to
what
sell.
type of budget do you need? Yeah, I mean, everybody, I think they see, hey, I can get this done. I'm going to sell it on Amazon. How much money are you really talking about to get started? To be in the game seriously?
Man, I mean, my first thing is, I mean, if you're going to low budget, I think Etsy's the way to go, because Etsy's ones and twos. You can sell basic T-shirts and things like that,
Sure.
and you can just level up. To be on Amazon, to have a product that's actually a national type product, you need some cash. I wouldn't. I'd say you need at least 50 grand to get
Yeah.
your foot in there, and that's probably on the low end. That's
Yeah,
that's
it is.
that
Okay.
I think the good thing nowadays, though, Stephen, is there's venture capitalists out there that'll help you. The bad part is that there's venture capitalists out there that'll help you, because
Yep.
they don't do it for free, and they're going to own 50% of your baby that you're so in love with, and
Okay.
that's a hard thing. People watch Shark Tank, and they don't see the behind the scenes that goes on a lot of that. They
No,
just
they
think
don't.
everybody does the deal with the handshake right there, and it's just not that way.
Okay. Hey, Larry, thank you for coming on InventRight TV. And I love your product. I think it's really smart. I think it's clever. Good for you. And everybody, please subscribe down below, give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time on InventRight TV. Thanks, Larry.
Hey, how's your product doing? Do you wish you were selling more, getting wider distribution, even more funding? You can do it all at once with InventRight. We'll help you partner with major companies that have the connections, the cash, and the reach. And we'll help you do it faster and with less risk. Yes, faster and less risk. So visit inventright.com, click on Contact Us. We'd love to talk to you and explain more on how we can do this for you. This is our Gateway program, so make sure to ask about Gateway when you reach out.